Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the opening of a 3-day conference marathon. I'm very happy to have you all here. Dear State Secretary Mr. Giegold, dear Mr. Schwemmlein, dear colleagues from competition agencies all over the world, from near, from far, dear colleagues from the Bundeskartellamt, also many of you here in this room. Welcome to the 21st Conference on Competition here in Berlin. I'm so happy that you are all here and that we have done this conference physically and that we were able to manage it physically because we have decided to host this conference round about a year ago. There were not many in the agency who believed in it, I must say, that we would really be able to do it, but I'm very happy that we have taken the decision. This year, our International Conference on Competition is a bit shorter because we have combined it with the annual conference. I think it's the 21st as well, the 21st Annual Conference of the International Competition Network, the ICN, which will start today after lunch. Nevertheless, I think also our own conference is up to the point. By the way, the International Conference on Competition was founded in the late 80s of the previous century by my predecessor, Wolfgang Kalte. It started with 20 agencies who were invited to the personal home of Mr. Kalte, and they were having sausages in the backyard of his house. That was the beginning, I think, in 1984 of this conference. And there might be one person in this room who visited this conference, and this is Terry Calvani. I don't know if he's with us this morning. Over here, there he is, Terry. So you are really a witness of the first hour of this. 20 agencies, and today we have 140 agencies in the ICN. So I'm very sorry, I was really not able to invite you all to my backyard and my personal home in Bonn. Besides, we are here in Berlin. Well, actually, competition law and competition economics have the full attention of political stakeholders for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, there's the digital economy shaking up not only the digital world in itself, but shaking up all parts of the economy, coming around with kind of a new order for the economy, creating new mega dominant companies for which we have created new laws now. We name them different in various countries. In Germany, they have definitely the longest names. We call them in the law companies of paramount significance for competition across markets. I can say that already without reading it. In UK, they are called companies of a strategic market status, already a bit shorter. And in Brussels, they're called core platform services. But no matter how you call them, we know what we are talking about. They create challenges for business, for competition agency. And of course, this is why we all have a strong focus on these companies. And of course, we try to apply our national and European and competition law in general. We try to apply it vigorously on the behavior of these companies, which actually are the most powerful companies around. And this is why they have been in the focus also of the Bundeskartellamt already for a long time, with numerous landmark decisions on Facebook, on Booking, on Amazon. We have seen changes of the law in Germany with the 9th and the 10th Amendment of the German Competition Act. Today, we have a statutory basis in Germany to proceed against these companies. We have initiated proceeding against Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google on the basis of the new law. At the European level, we have seen the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, a new powerful tool agreed upon in record time. We will hear more about that. The digital economy has put new questions on the table. One important question is, what about the other areas of law, and what do they have to do with competition law, such as consumer protection, such as data protection, also regulating big tech? We are expecting the decision of the European Court of Justice on Facebook in due time. The hearing on that case, on our Facebook case, is going to be next week on the 10th of May in Luxembourg. And we will hear, hopefully, something from the European Court of Justice on how competition law and privacy issues are entwined. But it's not only the digital economy that attracts political attention for the time being. Sometimes I have the impression that public interest matters sneak slowly but steadily in a certain way into competition law. The door opener for this might be the question of our time, that is, how we deal with sustainability. How do we incorporate sustainability considerations into the application of competition law? The Bundeskartellamt already has a growing case practice on that, showing, from my perspective, that sustainability and competition can go hand in hand. We also see excellent approaches at the level of the European Commission, with the Commission's horizontal draft guidelines with a chapter on sustainability agreements. We hope we can satisfy the growing demand for guidance of companies, how to deal with these issues. But one of the key questions for the future is, can we limit this to sustainability, or we will see other public interest matters sneak into competition policy, like jobs, like health issues, like social issues. And if you add the inclusion of privacy and consumer protection law into competition law, in the very end you can ask, is this still competition law? Or is this the gateway to a new dimension? Or do competition agencies simply get a new role beyond competition assessment in this respect? We will deal with that question in our first panel. We have an excellent panel. I'm not going to present them now. They will present themselves. They will be presented by Andrea Coscelli, who will lead this panel. But this is exactly what we will see. I'm very happy that we get a first greeting by Minister Robert Habeck, who wanted to come but couldn't make it today to this conference. We will then hear the keynote from the State Secretary Sven Giegold, who is with us today. He's in charge of competition policy at the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. He will illustrate the government's 10-point plan on the future role of competition policy in Germany. That will be followed by a discussion between Mr. Giegold, Professor Fiona Scott-Morton, and myself. In fact, I will be the moderator of that. On the other hand, I will have something to announce which interests at least the Bundeskartellamt very much, and maybe one company out there, so we will come to that later. The second keynote will be by André Schwemmlein, CEO of Flix SE, an international mobility provider which has made headlines, by the way, by acquiring Greyhound in the United States late last year. He stands for an extremely interesting company. I must say that now, Mr. Schwemmlein, from a competition point of view, because he's active in the area of long-distance bus traveling in Germany with a market share of, I would say, 80 to 90%. You can correct me later. But they're also active with Flixtrain in long-distance train traveling with a market share of 5%. You can correct me later, maybe it's even less. So he knows both sides of competition, and it will be very interesting to hear from Mr. Schwemmlein. We have very many interesting representatives here today, also from the business community, from many associations, the BDI, HDE, Markenverband, many others. So this is really in the spirit of this conference that we also talk to business and don't only talk about business. Of particular importance, of course, is the work of the judiciary. I'm very happy to welcome many high-ranking judges here today. Just to mention Mark van der Woude, President of the EU General Court in Luxembourg. Just to mention Professor Wolfgang Kirchhoff, newly appointed chair of the Cartel Senate of the Federal Supreme Court in Karlsruhe. Newly appointed means appointed on Monday. All my congratulations, Mr. Kirchhoff, to this new task, this very responsible task. I'm very happy that Advocate General Juliane Kokott is with us, and I'm very happy that also our judges from the higher regional court in Düsseldorf are with us, Professor Ulrich Egger and Ann-Christine Frister, with their colleagues, just to mention some of them. We have one of the most advanced competition laws in Germany, I think, thanks to governments, the previous one, the actual one, but also thanks to Parliament, of course. And this is why I'm very happy that I also welcome some members of Parliament with their staff here at this conference. Very happy that you are with us. I welcome Mr. Ingo Brinker, representing the BAR, the Studienvereinigung Kartellrecht, the German Antitrust Law Association. Many thanks, Dr. Brinker, for the support that you always grant to this conference every 2 years. I welcome the Monopolies Commission, Professor Jürgen Kühling, also representing the academic community, and I welcome many colleagues, presidents, commissioners, members of many competition agencies here. Also happy to see a lot of new faces. I'm particularly grateful, I must mention that, to welcome Olga Pishanska, the chair of the Anti-Monopoly Committee in Ukraine. Some of you have gone through this main station here in Berlin, and you might have noticed that here in Germany, this war in Ukraine feels pretty close, to be frank, bringing such a suffering to the people of Ukraine. The competition community has reacted, and we have suspended Russia from all activities in the ICN. The Bundeskartellamt itself is still involved in the twinning project with Ukraine, which is continuing for the time being, which is maybe some small signal of hope. Olga will speak at the ICN conference as well. Very happy about that. I welcome representatives from the OECD, from UNCTAD, from the IBA, the ABA, and I thank for generous support again from the German Lawyers Association, from the German Foundation for International Legal Cooperation, the ERZ, the Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom, and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. So, I'm looking forward to a great conference. I'm looking forward to a great panel that will be led by Andrea Koschelli. And having said that, I turn to the first item on our program, which is Minister Robert Habeck. Again, he will not be able to be with us today, but he didn't miss the opportunity to send us a greeting. We very much appreciate the support by the ministry with the Competition Policy Agenda 2025, about which we will hear later. So now we turn to Minister Robert Habeck.